Okay, welcome to Week 7 of the Cavalier Insider Pregame Show. Andrew Ramspacker alongside Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe as we look ahead to Virginia and Duke. The Blue Devils will come to Scott Stadium at 3:30 p.m. on Saturday as the Hoos will try to end a 3-game losing streak. It seems like every time we go to these preview shows, we're always talking about Virginia ending some form of skid. This time it's reached 3 games after losses to Pitt, 14-3, 48-27 to Ball State. And then last week, a heartbreaker up there at Byrd Stadium. Virginia says farewell to Maryland in the ACC with a 27-26 loss when Alec Vazenelec's 42-yard field goal attempt sailed wide right with 10 seconds left. There are a lot of storylines to that one that we can dive into. We'll touch on a couple here in this first segment. And let's get right to it. I think the hot topic around here is that final drive. Virginia trailing 27-26, gets the ball with I believe there was like 2:34 left, deep in its own territory, and really is driving the ball well. I think got benefited by maybe a phantom pass interference fall on a third down on Zach Swanson. Who knows if that was a pass interference or not, but nonetheless, flag was thrown, advances the drive. They get to about the 25-yard line of Maryland with about a minute left, and that's when they chose to basically say, hey, we're going to stop here, and we're going to test Alec Vazenelec's range, and they did not decide to go any farther. Nonetheless, the conservative approach, well, depends on who you ask if it's conservative or not. Obviously, you call it conservative. Mike London differs on that. Did not work out. They set up for a field goal. Alec Vazenelec pushes it wide right. Hootie, your thoughts on that final drive?
Well, I didn't think they were conservative until they got down to the 25, and that's where they blew it, I thought. I thought that was some of the most impressive passing that I've seen Watford execute on that drive. Some of those passes had a lot of zip on them and were just right in the right place. And they were so open getting down the field, and then they bogged down at the 25 like you said and like Watford said. Coach London said, we're going to run out the clock, kick the field goal, which is fine if you're running the ball, if you can move the ball up the middle between the tackles. But Maryland was obviously loading the box because they knew what Virginia was going to do, and Virginia just did what they expected. They just handed the ball off to Kevin Parks up the middle. There was no gain, and I don't know why when you get down into the red zone with a guy as mobile as Watford that you don't run a little option pass run to either side or just a designated run by Watford and let him get out there and use his speed and try to get the ball a little closer for a backup kicker who you're depending on winning the game. So I thought the strategy at the end of the game was very conservative, and I thought they blew a great opportunity to win a ball game.
Yeah, a couple of factors I think went into that drive. On that second play, Jake McGee gets hurt, comes off the field. He's obviously David Watford's most reliable receiver. Maybe the coaching staff was thinking, we don't have a reliable guy out there. And honestly, if you ask me, Jake McGee really is your only reliable option in the passing game at that point. Yeah. But they did, with McGee off the field, you're right. They did still move the ball down there without him. Darius Jennings came out of nowhere. A guy had barely touched the field all day, has a huge catch in that series. But they chose to run the ball, set up the field goal. And the bottom line is, if Alec Vazenelec does not push it, we're not even having this conversation right now. I mean, you've seen it you've seen that scenario played out several times in college football, just in football in general throughout the years, where teams kind of settle for a field goal. And if they make it, everybody, greatest coaching decision ever. If they make it, obviously it's debated. This one, debated because, as you bring up, the other point of that, Alec Vazenelec was not even the kicker for this team 2 weeks ago until Ian Fry pulled a quad at Pitt in warm-ups. Since that time, he had been 6 of 6. There's some confidence there. His long was only 39. They said that he had, in practice, had been hitting 40-plus, so they had confidence there. But obviously, he does push it wide right. So it wasn't a distance issue. It obviously had the leg, but the accuracy. And there was some debate, too, about David Wofford said he thought he should have centered the ball more. It was on that kind of that left hash, and it obviously made for a miss. But that's just one side to that. I think the other big thing is Virginia's just missed opportunities. Got into the red zone 6 times, comes away with 4 field goals, only 2 touchdowns, and Hootie in a 1-point game. I mean, that's just stomach churning, really.
Yeah, I mean that's something that's been a problem with Virginia for the past several years. Didn't matter who the offensive coordinator was. they've always moved the ball well down to the red zone and then bogged down and can't score and have to settle for field goals. And, I don't know what they're going to do. There's a lot of people you talk to, NFL people and old college coaches say that you've got to have a great passing game to be able to score in the red zone. Virginia's passing game is not great. It's very inconsistent right now, so that's part of the problem. But, I don't know what they're going to do about that. It's just a matter of watching David Watford mature, which, the only way that happens is more experience in situations like that. But, I thought there were a couple times maybe that they should have been a little more creative down inside the red zone to give themselves a better chance to score. I figure if you're on the road, your backs are against the wall, the villagers back home are getting ready to get the pitchforks and the torches and come after you. I think you got to go for it. You got to find a way to try to win. You can't be conservative, in my opinion.
Yeah, 2 times those third down stuffs were 3rd and 1 situations. One time was right on the goal line there in the first quarter. The other time was perhaps the biggest missed opportunity of them all. It's 23-20. Maryland botches a punt. Virginia recovers the Maryland 17-yard line, gains 9 yards, gets to 3rd and 1. Kevin Parks is stuffed on the right side, and they chose to go with the field goal there. What does a field goal give you? It gave them a 6-point lead. Obviously, either way, Maryland's got to score a touchdown to take a lead on you. But they went the field goal route and they end up losing by 1 point. So those were the 2 main points of the 2 main stories dealing with Virginia's latest loss. Seems like there's a different story every week. This time it wasn't penalties. It wasn't turnovers. As a matter of fact, Virginia won the turnover margin +3. So all that being said, just a huge missed opportunity. Perhaps the biggest thing that slipped up was a 3rd and 22 situation. Maryland trailing by 6 has the ball, and all UVA has to do is kind of knock it down, get a punt, run the clock out, win this game. Caleb Rowe, Maryland's backup quarterback, launches a prayer in between 2 defenders, Anthony Harris and Draquan Hosky. It seemed like both had a chance. They both kind of mistimed their jump. It lands in the hands of a Deion Long for 47 yards. Hootie, the next play, Maryland scores a touchdown. That ended up being probably the biggest play of the game.
Oh, without a doubt. And there's no excuse for giving up a first down in that situation. I mean, if nothing else, the ball should have been batted away, if not intercepted. And Virginia fans, long-suffering, have seen this happen so many times over the years. I don't have to tell them. They're sitting there saying that to themselves right now. They probably expected that to happen. But yeah, that's one of the big holes or small holes, whatever you want to call it, in John Tenuta's defense is that they give up too many big plays, and I'm sure that's not going down very well with him right now.
Yeah, Maryland 7 plays of 30 yards or more in that game against Virginia on Saturday. So that will do it for our recap of Virginia's latest loss that dropped them to 2-4 in the season and brought that skid to 3 games. In our next segment, we will look ahead to the matchup of Duke and also look at the Virginia quarterback situation a year later. We'll get to that.